Reed Carter walked into the hiring office and immediately knew this would be trouble. The room smelled like ozone and alien sweat, packed with mercenaries from a dozen different worlds. Most of them carried energy weapons that hummed with barely contained power. Reed's rifle hung silent on his back, just metal and polymer. A bird-like alien with purple feathers turned to look at him. This was Quinn, according to the job posting. The alien's eyes fixed on Reed's weapon, and something like amusement flickered across his face. "You are the human?" Quinn asked. His translator made his voice sound clipped and sharp. "Reed Carter. I saw your posting about needing extra security." Quinn's feathers ruffled. Behind him, 7 other aliens in matching armor stopped their conversation to stare. They all carried sleek energy rifles that glowed with power indicators. "What is that on your back?" one of them asked. "Modified AR platform rifle. Fires 6.8mm rounds." Reed kept his voice neutral. The aliens looked at each other. Someone laughed. It was a chittering sound that came from a reptilian mercenary near the window. "Bullets?" Quinn said the word like it tasted bad. "Your weapon needs bullets?" "Yes. And what happens when you run out?" Quinn spread his wings slightly. A gesture Reed had learned meant superiority among his species. "Our weapons pull power from the ship. Unlimited shots. Your primitive gun needs feeding like a pet." Reed said nothing. He had heard this before on a dozen different stations. Another alien spoke up. This one with gray skin and too many fingers. "Energy weapons never run dry. Why would anyone use something that stops working?" "Because it works differently," Reed said. "Works worse, you mean?" Quinn walked in a circle around Reed, examining him like a specimen. Humans cling to old ways. Chemical propellant. Metal projectiles. Meanwhile, the galaxy moved forward. The door behind Reed opened. A squat alien in expensive robes entered, clearly the client. This one looked like a toad that had been stretched upward into a humanoid shape. "Is this the additional contractor?" the client asked. "Yes, Administrator," Quinn said, "though I must advise against hiring him. His weapons are outdated and limited." The Administrator studied Reed with bulbous eyes. "What is your rate?" 2,000 credits per day plus combat bonus if we see action." "Your experience?" 8 years human military, 5 years private contract work, specializing in ship defense and boarding actions." The Administrator's throat sac inflated and deflated, apparently a thinking gesture. "Quinn's team is excellent with energy weapons, but the pirates in this sector have been adapting. Diverse tactics might prove valuable." "Administrator, I really must protest," Quinn said. "When his bullets run out, he becomes useless. We cannot rely on— I am hiring him." The Administrator's voice went flat with authority. "The medical supplies we are transporting are too valuable to risk. You will work together." Quinn's feathers pressed flat against his body, a sign of anger Reed had learned, but the alien merely nodded stiffly. "Of course, Administrator." Reed met with the Administrator privately to sign the contract. The payment was good, better than he had expected for a simple escort mission. That meant the Administrator expected trouble. "The pirates in this sector have been aggressive," the Administrator explained. 3 shipments lost in the past month. They are well equipped and organized. What kind of cargo am I protecting? Medical synthesizers and vaccines. For a colony suffering from an outbreak, many children are sick. The Administrator's eyes met Reed's. "This is why I hired you despite Quinn's objections. I have heard that humans take protection duties seriously. I'll do the job. I believe you will. One more thing. Quinn is an excellent mercenary, but his combat experience is limited to simulations and minor skirmishes. His confidence exceeds his capability. Do not let pride endanger the mission." Reed nodded. He had worked with overconfident contractors before. The ship was a mid-sized cargo hauler, built more for capacity than speed or defense. Reed met the rest of the crew, including Hal, another human who had been hired to handle logistics. Hal was older, with gray in his beard and scars that suggested a long career. "They giving you grief about the guns?" Hal asked. "The usual. Quinn's squad has been talking about it in the mess, taking bets on how fast you run out of ammunition." Reed checked his gear. 12 magazines, each loaded with 30 rounds. 360 bullets total, plus another 100 loose rounds in his pack. He had armor-piercing loads, hollow points, and a magazine of incendiary rounds for special situations. 300 rounds, Hal said, watching him count. Quinn carries 0. But his rifle never runs dry, he says. His rifle also never punches through modern shielding. They don't know that yet. They will. That evening, During the pre-departure briefing, Quinn spread a holographic map across the table. It showed their route through a sector marked with red warning zones. "We will travel through the broken field," Quinn explained. "Pirates use the asteroid debris for cover. If they attack, they will come fast with boarding craft." "How many ships do they usually use?" Reed asked. "Intelligence suggests 3 to 5 small attack vessels, maybe 30 to 40 pirates total." Reed did the math in his head. His ammunition would be more than sufficient if things went badly. "My squad will defend the cargo bay," Quinn continued. "The human with the bullet gun can guard the bridge approach. When you run out of ammunition, retreat to our position." "Understood." Quinn's beak clicked, the alien equivalent of a dismissive snort. "Try to make your bullets last. We would hate for you to become dead weight too quickly." The other aliens chittered with laughter. Reed just checked his rifle and said nothing. Words would not change their minds. Only results would do that. The ship departed on schedule, pulling away from the station and into the black. Reed found a quiet corner near the bridge and began his pre-mission routine. He field-stripped his rifle, checked each component, cleaned and oiled the bolt carrier group. His movements were automatic after years of practice. One of Quinn's squad members walked past and paused. "You clean it every day?" "Yes. Why?" "It is not dirty. Maintenance prevents failures." The alien seemed to consider this, then looked at his own energy rifle. "Mine has a self-diagnostic system. It tells me when something is wrong. And if the diagnostic system fails?" The alien had no answer for that and walked away. Hal sat down next to Reed. "You are making them nervous." "How?" "The way you treat that rifle. Like it is alive. Like you are preparing for war." "I am always preparing for war. That is why I am still alive." "Think we will see action?" Reed looked at the holographic display showing their route. "Yes. Pirates would not let 3 shipments get through without testing the 4th. Good thing you brought enough bullets then." Reed smiled slightly. "I always bring enough bullets." Outside the viewports, the stars moved past as the ship accelerated into dangerous space. 2 days into the journey, the ship passed through a field of frozen debris that had once been mining stations. The metal fragments caught the light from distant stars and made the sensors scream with false contacts. Reed stood in the observation deck, watching the chunks of destroyed civilization drift past. Quinn found him there during the shift change. The alien carried his energy rifle casually, like it weighed nothing. It probably did not weigh much since most of the mechanism was electronic rather than mechanical. "You are always armed," Quinn observed. "Even during rest periods." "Yes, why?" "Because threats do not wait for you to retrieve your weapon." Quinn made a clicking sound with his beak. "Paranoid. Typical human thinking." Reed did not argue. He had learned that some people only understood lessons taught by experience. "What are those?" Quinn pointed at the magazines in Reed's vest pouches. "Ammunition. Each magazine holds 30 rounds. How many do you carry?" 12. Quinn did some mental math. 360 shots total. "Then what?" "Then I reload the magazines from loose ammunition. And when that runs out?" "I have not run out yet." "But you could." Quinn tapped his energy rifle. "My weapon pulls from the ship's reactor. As long as we have power, I have unlimited shots. No reloading. No counting. No worrying about supply lines." Reed looked at Quinn's rifle more carefully. "What happens if the power conduit gets damaged?" "The weapon has internal capacitors. Good for about 50 shots, and then..." Quinn hesitated. "Then I must reconnect to ship power. So your unlimited weapon becomes useless if you lose power connection." "That rarely happens. But it can happen." Quinn's feathers ruffled with irritation. "You are missing the point. Technology moves forward, not backward. Energy weapons are superior in every measurable way." Hal joined them on the observation deck, carrying a plastic container of human food. "You explaining the guns again, Reed?" Quinn was asking about ammunition capacity. "Ah, the eternal debate." Hal sat down and opened his container. The smell of processed protein and vegetables filled the air. "Quinn, can I ask you something?" "What?" "How hot does your rifle get after sustained fire?" "There is a cooling system. How long can you fire before the cooling system fails?" Quinn's translator hummed for a moment. "Perhaps 200 shots in rapid succession. And then?" "The weapon must cool for several minutes. So you have unlimited ammunition but limited firing time." Hal took a bite of food. "Reed has limited ammunition but unlimited firing time. Different limitations for different situations. Energy weapons do not create sound, Quinn argued. They are stealthy. They create light, Reed said. Bright beams that show exactly where you are shooting from. The beams are fast. Nearly light speed. Bullets are fast enough for ship distances. Quinn's wings flared in frustration. Your weapons are crude. They use explosions to throw metal, like something from a primitive civilization. They work, Reed said simply. One of Quinn's squad members arrived, a gray-skinned alien named Dax. Quinn, the sensors picked up something. Could be nothing, but the captain wants extra eyes. The three of them moved to the bridge. The captain, a six-armed crustacean-like being, pointed at the display. There, 3 contacts holding position near that large asteroid. Reed studied the screen. The contacts were small, probably single-pilot fighters or scout craft. They are just watching us, the captain said. Not moving to intercept. They are calling friends, Reed said. Everyone turned to look at him. 3 scouts would not attack a cargo hauler alone, Reed continued. They are marking our position and speed. More ships are coming. Quinn checked his own tactical display. Possible. We are still 6 hours from the nearest station. If they want to hit us, this is a good location. What do we do? The captain asked. We cannot outrun attack craft, Quinn said. We maintain course and prepare for boarding defense. Reed said nothing, but he noted how Quinn's voice had changed. The mockery was gone, replaced by something tighter. Nerves, maybe. Or the realization that simulation training was about to become very real. All security personnel to defensive positions. The captain ordered. Crew, seal internal bulkheads. Prepare for hostile action. Reed and Hal moved toward the bridge approach, the narrow corridor that led from the main ship to the command center. It was a natural choke point, easily defended. How many bullets do you think we will need? Hal asked quietly. Depends on how many boarders they send. Quinn's squad is defending the cargo bay, 8 of them with energy weapons against maybe 30 pirates. They will learn today, Reed said. He checked his rifle again, a habit he could not break. The magazine was seated properly, the bolt was forward, the safety was on. His vest held 11 more magazines, each in its own pouch. He had arranged them tactically. Armor-piercing rounds on the left, hollow points on the right, special-purpose ammunition in the center. You really brought different types of bullets? Hal asked, watching. Yes. Why? Different targets need different solutions. Armor-piercing for shielded enemies, hollow points for maximum damage against soft targets, incendiaries for psychological effect. You have thought about this a lot. I have done this a lot. Hal settled into position with his own weapon, a shorter carbine version of Reed's rifle. They had worked together before and moved with practiced efficiency, setting up overlapping fields of fire. Over the communication system, they heard Quinn directing his squad. The alien's voice was calm and professional, but Reed detected an edge to it. This would be Quinn's first real combat, and everyone could tell. Contact, the captain shouted. Multiple ships dropping from behind the asteroid. Count as 5 No-6 attack craft. They are launching boarding pods, Reed checked his watch. From first scout sighting to attack launch, 43 minutes. The pirates were efficient. Boarding pods inbound, the captain continued. Impact in 90 seconds. 3 pods heading for cargo bay, 2 for engineering, 1 for the bridge. Quinn, you have 3 pods, Reed called over the communication line. Understood. My squad is ready. Quinn's voice cracked slightly on the last word. Hal looked at Reed. 1 pod for us, maybe 10 to 15 pirates. I know. You said you brought enough bullets. I did. The ship shuddered as the boarding pods clamped onto the hull. Reed heard the cutting torches start, burning through the outer hatches. In the cargo bay, energy weapons began to discharge, the distinctive whine crack of alien firearms echoing through the ship's corridors. Reed clicked his safety off and shouldered his rifle. The torch working on the bridge hatch glowed white-hot, cutting through military-grade alloy like paper. Here they come, Hal said. Reed's finger rested alongside the trigger guard, not on the trigger itself. Discipline, always discipline. The hatch blew inward with a bang of explosive charges. Smoke filled the corridor. Through it came the first pirate, wearing reflective armor that gleamed like mirrors. Reed's first shot took the pirate in the center of mass. The armor was designed to deflect energy beams. Bullets just punched straight through. The pirate dropped without a sound, his reflective armor smoking where the bullet had penetrated. The hole in his chest was the size of a fist. Energy weapons cauterized wounds. Bullets did not. More pirates poured through the breach. They wore the same mirrored armor, designed specifically to scatter energy weapon fire. The pirates had adapted to the galaxy's standard weapons. They had not adapted to Reed. His second shot took another pirate in the throat above the armor collar. Third shot, center mass on a pirate trying to take cover. Fourth shot through the shoulder of one raising a weapon. Each trigger pull was deliberate, controlled. No wasted movement. The sound was immense in the enclosed corridor. Each gunshot was a thunderclap that rattled off the metal walls. The pirates flinched at every bang, their hearing protection inadequate for the acoustic assault. Hal fired from Reed's left, his carbine adding to the cacophony. Together they created a wall of bullets that the pirates could not cross. A pirate tried to return fire with an energy weapon. The blue bolt scorched the wall behind Reed, leaving a glowing scorch mark. Reed's answering bullet caught the pirate in the visor, shattering it. Reloading, Hal called. Reed shifted his fire to cover both angles. His rifle barked 5 more times in rapid succession. 5 more pirates fell. The magazine in his rifle held 30 rounds. He had fired 15 times. 15 shots, 9 targets down. The other 6 shots had been suppressing fire, forcing pirates to keep their heads down. The magazine clicked empty. Reed's right hand hit the magazine release while his left hand was already pulling a fresh magazine from his vest. The empty magazine clattered to the floor. New magazine in. Bolt release. The entire reload took less than 2 seconds. Up, Reed said. Hal resumed firing while Reed assessed the situation. Bodies blocked the blown hatch. The pirates were trying to push through, but their own dead were in the way. Reed counted quickly. 13 bodies visible. The boarding pod probably held 15 pirates. 2 more to go. Something metallic bounced through the hatch. Grenade, down! Reed grabbed Hal and pulled him around the corner. The explosion was massive in the confined space. Shrapnel tore through the air where they had been standing. Reed's ears rang despite his protection. Smoke filled the corridor. The pirates used the smoke as cover, rushing through the hatch. Reed heard their boots on the metal floor. He leaned around the corner and fired blind into the smoke, aiming low. The bullets found legs and the pirates screamed. When the smoke cleared, all 15 pirates were down. Reed walked forward carefully, rifle ready. He checked each body. Dead or dying. None were a threat anymore. Bridge is secure, Reed called over the communication line. He ejected his second magazine. 15 more rounds expended. Total, 30 rounds, 15 targets eliminated. Over the line he heard chaos. In the cargo bay, energy weapons were firing constantly. The whine crack of alien firearms created an almost musical rhythm. But underneath it, Reed heard something else. Panic. We cannot penetrate their armor. That was Dax, Quinn's squad member. The bolts just scatter. Keep firing, Quinn shouted. Concentrated fire. Reed looked at Hal. The cargo bay. They moved through the ship corridors, stepping over debris from the pirate attack on engineering. The engineering crew had sealed themselves in the reactor room. Smart. The pirates could not cut through those doors without risking a reactor breach. The sounds from the cargo bay grew louder. Energy weapons were discharging so rapidly it sounded like continuous thunder. But Reed heard no return fire. The pirates were not shooting back. They were advancing. Reed and Hal reached the cargo bay entrance. Through the doorway, Reed saw a nightmare. Quinn's 8-person squad was pinned behind cargo containers. Their energy rifles glowed hot from overuse, the cooling system struggling to keep up. In front of them, 20 pirates advanced slowly. Their mirrored armor scattered every energy bolt that hit them. The cargo bay looked like a disco from all the reflected beams bouncing around. 2 of Quinn's squad were down, their armor melted by pirate return fire. The other 6 were firing desperately, but their weapons were useless against the reflective armor. We are out of options. Quinn's voice cracked. Their armor is too effective. Reed tapped his magazine. Armor-piercing rounds. He had loaded this magazine specifically for this situation. Hal, high left. I take low right. Understood. They entered the cargo bay from the side, an angle the pirates were not watching. Reed dropped to one knee and acquired his first target. A pirate who stood taller than the others, probably a leader. Reed's shot punched through the pirate's armor between the shoulder blades. The pirate dropped. The one next to him turned, confused about where the shot came from. Reed's second shot took him in the side where the armor plates overlapped. Now the pirates knew there was a new threat. They tried to turn and face Reed, but their mirrored armor meant nothing against bullets. Reed fired methodically, each shot carefully aimed. Unlike Quinn's squad, who had fired thousands of wild bolts, Reed made every bullet count. A pirate raised an energy weapon toward Reed. Reed shot him through the wrist, then through the chest. 2 rounds. The energy weapon clattered to the floor. Hal's carbine barked from the left. More pirates fell. The raiders had expected energy weapons. They had equipped themselves to counter energy weapons. They had no defense against old-fashioned kinetic projectiles. Reed's rifle clicked empty. 3rd magazine expended. He reloaded smoothly, his hands doing the work while his eyes stayed on the targets. Fresh magazine in. Bolt forward. Back in the fight, the pirates broke. They had gone from confident attackers to confused victims in less than a minute. Those who could still move ran for their boarding pods. Reed let them go. No point wasting ammunition on fleeing enemies. Silence fell over the cargo bay. Reed's ears rang from his own gunfire. Smoke drifted through the air, and the smell of propellant mixed with the ozone stink of energy weapons. Quinn emerged from behind the cargo containers. His feathers were pressed flat against his body. His rifle was so hot Reed could see heat waves rising from it. How? Quinn asked. How did you do that? Reed ejected his partially used magazine and replaced it with a full one. Battle discipline. Always reload when you have the chance. Their armor stops energy weapons. It does not stop bullets, but you use so few shots. I fired hundreds of times and hit nothing. You fired a few dozen and killed them all. I did not kill them all. Maybe 20. Hal got 5 or 6. Quinn stared at him. 26 targets. You used 3 magazines? 2.5. That is 75 rounds. Closer to 65. I did not empty the 3rd magazine. 65 rounds. 26 targets. Quinn's translator struggled with his voice. That is almost 1 bullet per enemy. Some shots missed. Some took multiple hits, averages. Dax approached, his gray skin even paler than usual. How do you shoot like that? Practice, training, discipline. Reed checked his ammunition situation. 9 magazines left, plus the partial in his rifle. Plenty for any additional threats. Could you teach us? Quinn asked quietly. Reed looked at the alien. The mockery was gone from Quinn's eyes. So was the arrogance. Only respect remained, earned through the hardest teacher, combat. Yes, Reed said. I can teach you. The cargo ship limped toward the nearest station with 1 engine damaged and half its hull scarred by boarding pod burns. Inside, the crew worked to repair what they could while the security teams dealt with the aftermath of battle. Reed sat in the cargo bay, field stripping his rifle for cleaning. The weapon had served him well, but combat always left residue that needed attention. Hal sat beside him, doing the same with his carbine. Quinn approached slowly. The alien's feathers were still pressed close to his body, a sign of stress or shame. Behind him came Dax and 2 other surviving squad members. May we watch? Quinn asked. Reed nodded. The alien sat down in a semicircle around the 2 humans. They watched in silence as Reed disassembled the rifle with practiced movements. You clean it after every fight? Dax asked. Yes, why? Our energy weapons self-maintain. Because a malfunction gets you killed. Reed wiped down the bolt carrier group. This weapon has no computer to diagnose problems. So I diagnose them myself. Does it malfunction often? Never, because I maintain it. Quinn picked up one of Reed's empty magazines. These can be reused? Yes, the magazine is just a container. I refill it with new bullets. Show me. Reed pulled out a box of ammunition. He took an empty magazine and began loading bullets into it one by one. Each round clicked into place with a satisfying sound. This takes time, Quinn observed. Yes, but it can be done anywhere. Your energy weapons need a power connection to recharge. True. Quinn's beak clicked thoughtfully. On the station I can recharge instantly. But out here, cut off from the ship, I had only 50 shots in my capacitor. How many shots did you fire during the battle? I do not know. Hundreds, maybe 1,000. And how many pirates did you kill? Quinn's feathers ruffled with embarrassment. None that I am certain of. Perhaps some fell to my fire, but the bolts scattered so much I cannot be sure. Reed finished loading the magazine. 30 rounds ready to go again. I fired 90 rounds and eliminated 35 targets. How? Dax leaned forward. How do you shoot with such precision? Training. Thousands of hours on ranges. Learning to breathe, to hold steady, to squeeze the trigger without jerking. But you were shooting in smoke and chaos while moving. That is why you train, so that when chaos comes, your body knows what to do without thinking. One of the other aliens, a female with blue skin, spoke up. Our training focused on tactics and movement. The weapons were considered simple. Point and fire. Weapons are never simple, Reed said. Even energy weapons require skill. But you have relied on unlimited ammunition to compensate for poor accuracy. Quinn flinched but did not argue. You are correct. In simulations, I could afford to miss. I always had more shots. In real combat, efficiency matters. Not just ammunition, but time. Every second you spend firing uselessly is a second the enemy uses to advance or flank. Hal finished cleaning his carbine and began reassembling it. Reed and I trained in Earth's military. They taught us that ammunition is sacred. Every bullet represents money, logistics, weight. You learn to make them count. But humanity has energy weapons now, Dax said. Why still use bullets? Because different tools for different jobs, Reed explained. He held up his armor-piercing round. This bullet is designed to punch through hard targets. I also carry hollow points for soft targets and incendiaries for psychological effect or destroying equipment. One weapon, multiple capabilities. Energy weapons can be tuned to different frequencies, Quinn argued, but weakly. Can your rifle change frequency in combat? No, that requires a technician and specialized equipment. My rifle changes ammunition type in 2 seconds. Reed demonstrated a magazine change. From armor-piercing to hollow point. Different tool, same weapon. The aliens absorbed this silently. Finally, Quinn spoke. I mocked you. I called your weapons primitive. I was wrong. You were not entirely wrong, Reed said. Energy weapons are superior in many situations. Open space combat. Sustained fire against unshielded targets. Low-gravity environments where bullet trajectories become unpredictable. Then why do humans still train with ballistic weapons? Because we learned a long time ago that no single weapon solves every problem. The best military is one with many tools. Dax picked up a bullet, examining it closely. This is so simple. Metal jacket around a lead core. Explosive powder behind it. Primitive chemistry and physics. Simple is reliable, Hal said. This bullet will fire in any environment. Vacuum, underwater, extreme heat, or cold. It does not care about electromagnetic pulses or power fluctuations. The pirates used EMP grenades, Quinn said suddenly, during the fight. I saw one go off near Dax. His rifle stopped working for several seconds. Dax nodded. The capacitor had to reboot. In those seconds, I could not defend myself. An EMP does nothing to Reed's rifle, Hal explained, because there is no electronics to disrupt. Just mechanical parts and chemistry. The blue-skinned alien looked at Reed with new respect. You choose old technology not because you are primitive, but because it is robust. Exactly. But the limitations, Quinn said. You cannot carry unlimited ammunition. What if a battle lasts for hours? Reed pointed at his vest. I carry 360 rounds on my body. In combat, soldiers typically fire between 100 and 200 rounds per engagement. My ammunition is sufficient for multiple engagements, but eventually you run out. Yes, but you run out of cooling capacity. And if your power connection breaks, you run out of shots very quickly. Reed met Quinn's eyes. Everything has limitations. The question is whether you plan for them. Quinn was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Will you really teach us to use ballistic weapons? If you want to learn? I do. We all do. Quinn looked at his remaining squad members. They all nodded. Today we learned that our assumptions were dangerous. We equipped ourselves for the galaxy we imagined, not the galaxy that exists. The pirates have been hitting ships in this sector for months, Reed said. How many of those ships had pure energy weapon defenses? All of them, Dax realized. Every mercenary company uses standard galactic weapons. Energy rifles, energy pistols, energy everything. So the pirates optimized against energy weapons, reflective armor, EMP grenades, shields tuned to scatter coherent light. And then you arrived with bullets and their defenses meant nothing. Reed smiled slightly. Warfare is about adaptation. They adapted to the galaxy's standard tactics. I brought something non-standard. Humanity's gift to the galaxy, Quinn said. Diversity of approach. One of them. Hal stood and stretched. The station is still 3 hours away. If you want, Reed and I can begin basic instruction now. The aliens looked at each other, then at Reed. Quinn spoke for all of them. Please teach us. Reed picked up his rifle, now clean and reassembled. First lesson, respect the weapon. Not fear, but respect. This rifle can kill at 800 meters. In the wrong hands, it is dangerous to everyone around it. In the right hands? Dax asked. In the right hands, it is precise, reliable, and effective. Now let us begin with the basics. Stance, grip, sight picture. The aliens gathered around eagerly, their earlier mockery forgotten. They had learned the hardest lesson in combat, that assumptions kill and humility keeps you alive. Reed began the lesson, patient and thorough. He had been teaching soldiers for years, both human and alien. The principles were always the same. Respect your weapon. Know its limitations. Practice until the movements are instinctive. And most importantly, make every shot count. Outside the viewports, space stretched endlessly, but inside the cargo bay, a different kind of expansion was happening. The galaxy was learning that old ways were not the same as wrong ways, and that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. The station appeared in the viewport like a spinning wheel against the stars. It was a trading hub, neutral territory where dozens of species came to do business. The damaged cargo ship docked slowly, maneuvering carefully with its wounded engine. Reed stood on the loading platform as medical teams rushed aboard to collect the vaccines and synthesizers. The administrator personally supervised the transfer, making sure everything reached the colony transport intact. You fulfilled your contract admirably, the administrator said to Reed. The bonus will be transferred to your account. Thank you. I heard what happened. Quinn told me everything. The administrator's throat sac inflated. Your weapons made the difference. Reed did not respond. He was watching Quinn's squad unload their gear. The aliens moved carefully, carrying their wounded on stretchers. 2 body bags lay on the platform covered with sheets. Quinn approached, his feathers still not quite right. The alien had not recovered from the shock of real combat. Reed, Quinn said, before you leave, I wanted to say something. Go ahead. I was arrogant. I judged your weapons without understanding them. I judged you without knowing you. Quinn looked at the body bags. My arrogance cost lives today. If I had listened, if I had been less certain of my superiority, perhaps they would still be alive. Perhaps, Reed said, but you cannot change the past. Only learn from it. I want to learn. Truly learn, not just basic instruction. Quinn met Reed's eyes. I am submitting a request to my company. I want to spend a month training with you, learning ballistic weapons properly. Will you accept? Reed considered. Yes, but it will not be easy. Good. Easy lessons are not the ones that save lives. Hal joined them carrying equipment bags. The harbor master is asking about the pirate attack. They want statements from everyone. Let them wait, Reed said. First, we need to debrief properly. They found a quiet corner in the station's mercenary quarters. Quinn brought his surviving squad members. 8 had gone out. 6 had returned. The empty spaces in the circle were painful reminders. Tell me what happened in the cargo bay, Reed said. From the beginning. Quinn spoke slowly, recounting the battle. When the pirates breached, we engaged immediately. Our training said to lay down suppressing fire, keep them pinned. So we fired continuously. How many shots per minute? I do not know. As many as possible. And what did you hit? Nothing that mattered. The bolts scattered off their armor. We increased fire rate, thinking volume would overcome their defenses. Reed nodded. Classic mistake. More bullets do not solve the wrong bullets problem. Dax spoke up. I noticed that their armor reflected our fire in random directions. It created a light show, blinding, confusing. We could not see properly. Your muzzle flash gave away your position, Reed explained. Every shot was a beacon telling them exactly where you were. They could aim at your light even if they could not see you through the reflections. Your weapon has muzzle flash too, the blue-skinned alien said. Yes, but I fire controlled bursts, then move. You fired continuously from static positions. Quinn's beak clicked in understanding. We made ourselves targets. You also heated your weapons to critical levels. How many times did your rifles overheat? Mine overheated 3 times, Quinn admitted. Each time I had to wait for the cooling cycle, during which you could not fight at all. Yes. Reed pulled out his rifle. This weapon does not overheat because the heat is expelled with each bullet. The cartridge casing carries away the thermal energy, simple mechanical solution to a thermal problem. But you have to carry those cartridges, Dax said. Yes. Which forces me to think about every shot, to make each one count. Reed looked at each alien in turn. That is the real lesson today. Not that bullets are better than energy bolts, but that limitations create discipline, and discipline creates effectiveness. Hal added, energy weapons give you the illusion of unlimited resources, so you never learn restraint. You spray fire and hope something hits. Humans learned resource management the hard way, Reed said. On Earth, ammunition was expensive. Logistics were difficult. We had to develop marksmanship because we could not afford to waste shots. And that discipline saved us today, Quinn said quietly. It saved you today because the pirates adapted to energy weapons. Tomorrow they might adapt to ballistic weapons. Then you will need something else. Reed stood and stretched. Warfare is evolution. The side that adapts faster wins. The conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the docking bay. Reed heard raised voices, then someone shouting for security. They rushed to the platform. A group of aliens in military uniform stood near the cargo ship examining the damage. One of them, a tall insectoid being, was taking detailed scans of the pirate bodies that had been recovered. Who are you? The administrator demanded. Sector Defense Forces, the insectoid said. His mandibles clicked as his translator worked. We have been tracking these pirates for months. They have destroyed 7 ships and killed over 200 crew members. They attacked us with 6 ships and approximately 50 boarders, Reed said. The insectoid turned to look at him. And you survived? How many security personnel did you have? 10 total. 8 energy weapons specialists, 2 ballistic weapons specialists. You lost most of your team then. We lost 2, Quinn said, stepping forward. The rest of us survived because of the humans. The insectoid's antennae twitched. Interesting. May I examine your weapons? Reed handed over his rifle carefully. The insectoid studied it with obvious confusion. This is primitive. Chemical propellant. Mechanical firing mechanism. No electronics at all except a simple optical sight. Correct. And this defeated the pirate force? Yes, how? Their defenses were optimized against energy weapons. Ballistic weapons bypassed those defenses entirely. The insectoid set the rifle down carefully. We have been recommending energy weapon upgrades to all ships in this sector. Better cooling systems, higher output, faster cycling, trying to overpower the pirate defenses with more technology. And it has not worked, Reed said. No. Ships with the latest energy weapons still fall to the pirates. The insectoid looked at Reed with new interest. Perhaps we have been solving the wrong problem. You have been fighting their strengths with your strengths. Better to attack their weaknesses with something they did not prepare for. Asymmetric warfare, Hal said. Human military doctrine. When you cannot win with superior force, win with superior adaptation. The insectoid's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of excited thinking. Would you be willing to demonstrate your weapons to our forces? We need new tactics against these pirates. Reed looked at Quinn. What do you think? I think the galaxy needs to learn what I learned today, Quinn said. That progress is not always forward. Sometimes it is sideways. Sometimes it is backward to move forward. I will need to consult with my superiors, the insectoid said, but I believe we can offer a substantial contract for training and consultation. We will consider it, Reed said. As the Defense Forces officer left, Hal grinned. Looks like you are going to be busy. We are going to be busy, Reed corrected. This is not a one-person operation. Quinn stepped closer. Include me. I want to be part of this, you sure? Training others is harder than learning yourself. I'm sure. Today I learned humility. Tomorrow I want to teach it. Reed smiled. Then welcome to the team. They watched the colony transport depart with its precious medical cargo. Somewhere out there, children would receive vaccines because Reed had brought enough bullets, because he had made every shot count, because sometimes the old ways were the right ways. The galaxy was learning, and Reed was ready to teach. 3 weeks later, Reed stood in a training facility on the edge of the station. The room had been converted into a firing range, with targets at various distances and obstacles creating realistic combat scenarios. 20 aliens from different species stood in formation, waiting for instruction. Quinn stood beside Reed, now wearing a vest loaded with magazine pouches. The alien had purchased his own ballistic rifle, a human-made weapon modified for his different physiology. He looked nervous but determined. Welcome to Week 3, Reed said to the assembled trainees. Today we test what you have learned. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. They had spent 2 weeks learning the basics, Stance, grip, sight picture, breathing, trigger control. They had fired thousands of rounds at stationary targets. Now came the real test. You will enter the course in pairs, Reed continued. You will face targets that move, targets that hide, targets that shoot back with simulated fire. You will have 30 rounds each. Use them wisely. A murmur went through the group. 30 rounds had seemed like a lot when they started. Now, after learning proper marksmanship, they understood how limited that was. First pair, step forward. 2 aliens moved to the start line. One was Dax, the gray-skinned veteran from Quinn's squad. The other was a newcomer, a stocky being with 4 arms. Begin. They entered the course. Reed and the others watched on monitors as the pair moved through the obstacles. At first, they moved too fast, rushing to targets. Reed saw them waste shots on poor aim, firing before they had proper sight alignment. But then something changed. Dax remembered his training. He slowed down, took his time, made each shot count. The 4-armed alien saw this and copied the behavior. They started working together, one covering while the other engaged targets. They emerged 7 minutes later. Dax had used 28 rounds and hit 23 targets. The 4-armed alien had used all 30 rounds but only hit 19 targets. Better, Reed said. Dax, you remembered that speed is useless without accuracy, but you both need to work on target priority. You shot targets in the order you found them, not by threat level. They nodded and stepped aside. Pair by pair, the aliens went through the course. Reed watched their progress with a critical eye. Some had natural talent. Others struggled but showed determination. All of them were learning. Finally, it was Quinn's turn. He was paired with the blue-skinned female from his original squad. They stepped to the line. Ready? Reed asked. Ready, Quinn said. His feathers were smooth, his stance confident. Begin. Quinn moved into the course with controlled speed. He scanned for threats, prioritized targets, engaged with precision. Each shot was deliberate. He reloaded smoothly when his magazine ran empty, just like Reed had taught him. The blue-skinned alien matched his pace perfectly. They moved like a real fire team, covering each other, communicating with gestures, never wasting ammunition. They emerged in 6 minutes. Quinn had used 27 rounds and hit 26 targets. His partner had used 29 rounds and hit 27 targets. The other trainees erupted in cheers. These were their squad leaders, and they had just demonstrated mastery. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Well done. You have learned the lessons. We had a good teacher, Quinn said. Teaching is easy when students are motivated. Reed addressed the entire group. You all came here because you saw energy weapons fail. You wanted something better. But ballistic weapons are not better. They are different. The real lesson is this: diversity wins wars. Adaptation wins wars. The side with the most tools and the willingness to use them all will always have an advantage. Hal entered the training room carrying a data pad. Reed, you need to see this. The pad showed news from across the sector. 3 more merchant ships had been attacked by pirates. All 3 had energy weapon defenses. All 3 had been defeated, but there was new information. Sector Defense had traced the pirates to their base. They were planning a major assault and wanted Reed's team to participate. How many pirates? Reed asked. Intelligence says between 200 and 300. They are dug into an abandoned mining station. The trainees heard this and looked nervous. 300 enemies was a small army. How many troops is Sector Defense committing? Reed asked. 500 with support ships. And they want us because? Because the pirate base is heavily shielded against energy weapons. They have reflective panels covering every surface. It is a fortress built specifically to counter standard galactic weapons. Reed understood. They need ballistic weapons to break the defense. Yes, will you take the contract? Reed looked at his trainees. They had learned well, but 3 weeks was not enough to make them combat ready. Most of them would die if he brought them into a major battle. But Quinn's original squad, the ones who had survived the cargo ship battle, they were different. They had seen real combat. They understood what was at stake. I will take 6 volunteers, Reed said. Experienced only. This is not a training exercise. Quinn stepped forward immediately. So did Dax and the blue-skinned female. 3 more from Quinn's squad followed. That is only 6 plus you and Hal, Quinn said. 8 total. 8 with the right weapons can do a lot of damage, Reed said. The mission briefing took place on a sector defense cruiser. The room was filled with military officers, all staring at holographic displays of the pirate base. Reed counted 300 soldiers in the assault force, all carrying energy weapons. The commanding officer, the same insectoid they had met at the station, addressed the group. "We will breach the base here, here, and here. Overwhelming force at 3 points. The pirates cannot defend everywhere at once." "What about their reflective shielding?" someone asked. "Our latest energy weapons can overcome it with sustained fire." Reed raised his hand. "How much sustained fire?" "Our tests suggest 10 to 15 seconds of continuous beams to melt through, and in those 15 seconds the pirates can return fire." The insectoid's antennae twitched with irritation. "Do you have a better suggestion?" "Yes, let my team go first. We will punch holes in their defenses. Your troops follow through the holes and spread out inside. 8 soldiers against 300 pirates? 8 soldiers with weapons that ignore their reflective shielding. We only need to create breaches. You do the rest," the officers murmured among themselves. Finally, the insectoid agreed. "Very well. Your team will be the spearhead. Do not disappoint us." The assault began at dawn station time. Reed and his team rowed boarding craft toward the pirate base. They were first wave ahead of the main force. "Remember your training," Reed said as they approached. "Controlled fire. Make every shot count. We do not need to kill everyone. We just need to create chaos." The boarding craft clamped onto the pirate base hull. Cutting torches began their work. Reed checked his magazines one last time. 12 magazines, 360 rounds. It would be enough. It always was. The hatch blew open. Reed entered first, rifle ready. The pirates were waiting, but their reflective armor meant nothing. Reed's first magazine took down 8 pirates who had been positioned to ambush them. Behind him, Quinn and the others followed. They moved like a precision instrument. Each shot carefully aimed, each target deliberately chosen. The pirates tried to return fire, but their energy weapons were ineffective against the team's armor, and their reflective defenses were useless against bullets. In 30 minutes, Reed's team carved a path deep into the station. They did not try to clear every room or kill every pirate. They just kept moving, creating confusion, drawing fire, forcing the pirates to react. When the main assault force arrived, they found the pirate defenses in chaos. The reflective shielding was intact, but the defenders were scattered, confused, unable to coordinate. The sector defense troops poured through the breaches Reed had created. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, the pirate base was captured, and over 200 pirates were in custody. Sector defense casualties were surprisingly light because Reed's team had broken the enemy's coherence before the main assault began. In the aftermath, Reed sat in the debriefing room with his team. Quinn had a minor wound on his arm, but everyone else was intact. They had fired 2,000 rounds total and achieved their objective. The insectoid commander entered. "I owe you an apology. I doubted your methods." "No apology needed," Reed said. "You used the right tool for the job. We were just one of the tools. The most effective tool." The insectoid set a contract on the table. "Sector Defense wants to establish a permanent ballistic weapons training program. We want you to run it." Reed looked at the contract. The pay was exceptional. The term was 5 years. He would be training an entire generation of soldiers in old weapons made new again. "I accept," Reed said, "on one condition." "What condition?" "Quinn trains with me. He knows both energy weapons and ballistic weapons. He can bridge the gap between old thinking and new thinking." The insectoid looked at Quinn. "Acceptable." As they left the cruiser, Hal clapped Reed on the shoulder. "You did it. You changed how an entire sector thinks about warfare." "I just reminded them that old solutions work for new problems." "And made a legend in the process," Quinn said. "The story is spreading. The human who won battles with guns that need bullets." Reed smiled. "It was never about the bullets. It was about making them count." They walked through the station, past shops and bars where species from across the galaxy mingled. In one window, Reed saw a weapons dealer displaying both energy rifles and ballistic weapons side by side. Equal status, equal respect. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and Reed had taught it with 90 rounds, one magazine at a time.